Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and I was always told how to voice radio, so today we're going to be looking at a new Dragalge card, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming out in Forbidden Light, the upcoming Sun and Moon 6 expansion, and given that it's a Dragalge card, clearly it's got something to do with poison. And it could be pretty good. Let's not forget there has been a Dragalge that has seen a fair amount of play. There is the Dragalge which originally came around in Flashfire and was actually a pre-release promo for that particular set that says that poisoned Pokemon cannot retreat. That saw a little bit of play. Not to mention we had the one from Breakpoint, which is still legal at the moment. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, put 4 damage counters instead of 1 on that Pokemon between turns. Dragalge is a good Pokemon when it comes to poison, and the new Dragalge is absolutely no different. So, what does it actually do? Well, it is a psychic Pokemon. So that means that you are hitting weakness against things like, well, Buzzwole's the big one, to be honest. And you're being hit for weakness, because you're weak to Psychic, by things like Garbodor and Espeon GX and things of that nature that are seeing a bit of play around at the moment. Retreat cost 1 is very nice, and 120 HP is annoying. And I make this point quite a bit, but it's such a big point at the moment. You've got cards like Zoroark GX, cards like Silvally GX, that do 120 damage as a standard. Golisopod would be another example. So if you had 130 HP, you could survive a hit from these Pokemon, but with 120 HP you can't. That is kind of annoying, to be perfectly honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, but there ain't nothing we can do about it. So what does Dragalge actually do? Well, the ability, it's called Poison Barb, which might make you think of the item card, the tool card, Poison Barb, and I should at this stage remind you that this was translated over at pokebeach.com. Cheers to them for the lovely translation. And it does a very similar thing. If it's active and it's damaged by an attack, even if it's knocked out, then the Pokemon that damaged it is now poisoned. And actually, thinking about it, it is exactly the same as Poison Barb. Now, I should mention here, of course, that that wouldn't happen if it was on the bench. So let's say, for argument's sake, a Buzzwole were to do a Jet Punch and do 30 damage to Dragalge on the bench. We wouldn't be seeing any poison. Poison would not happen. Is this good? This is very, very nice. Now, of course, there's no point putting Poison Barb on this, because it would double up and not actually do anything. But this does a lot of good. This means that your opponent is going to be poisoned, they're going to take 10 damage between turns, and it means that you're putting a little bit of extra pressure on. You're getting free damage, essentially. Now, I should at this point mention Viper, which is a fun little Pokemon that came out in Burning Shadows, says that poison does an extra 10 damage between turns. So it wouldn't actually be 10 damage between turns. With 1 Viper out, it'd be 20 damage between turns. With 2 Viper out, it would be 30 damage between turns. And let's face it, we all play Choice Band at the moment just to do an extra 30 damage to EXs and GXs. Now, I get the bench space will be a bit of an issue, but being able to do 30 damage between turns, 30 damage after your turn, 30 damage after their turn, and so on and so forth, that, ladies and gentlemen, is nothing to be sniffed at. That sounds all right to me. And of course, in Expanded, you could even combine it with the other Dragalge, so that they attack Dragalge, they get poisoned, and then the other Dragalge has the ability, which says they cannot retreat when poisoned, which all adds up to a great big bundle of fun. Of course, being an evolved non-GX means that this ability is going to stay around. Now, we still got Garbodor until rotation, but we assume that's only going to be till September. And as I've made a point of saying, I feel pretty confident about that prediction. So now we're in a great situation where it rotates out. Glaceon can block abilities, but not from this, it's not a GX. Alola Muck can block abilities, but not from this, it's not a basic Pokemon. And all of a sudden, not only have you got a really nice ability that's putting on extra damage between turns, but it's just not getting turned off. That's pretty sweet. And as well as a nice ability here, we actually have a pretty good attack as well. For 1 psychic, 1 colourless energy, 60 damage, flip 2 coins. For each heads, discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. If both coin flips are tails, this attack does nothing. Now, there is a little bit of a risk here. There is a 25% chance that this is actually going to fail and that you're not going to be doing anything. 1 in 4 turns, this should actually do nothing, which is rubbish. But 1 in 4 turns, you're going to discard 2 energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, and every other turn, half of these turns, you're going to discard 1 energy. Or to put it another way, 3 in 4 turns, 75% of the time, you are going to discard at least 1 energy attached to your opponent's active. And this is really, really nice. So, let's say you're up against something like a Buzzwole. Annoyingly, you're not actually getting a KO here. You do 60, add a choice band 90, doubled is 180, but Buzzwole's got 190, so it's not getting KO'd. Bit of a shame. And they're not poisoned until they attack you, annoyingly. Although the good news is you would do 180, they would then attack you, and then get poisoned and knocked out going into your turn, which means they'd have to put one of their bench Pokemon active, and you would get the first hit on a new Pokemon, which is very nice. But let's say they've got 3 energy on this Buzzwole. You attack with this, you flip a double heads, and then all of a sudden you're actually getting rid of 2 of their free energy and completely crippling them, even if you don't get the KO. Even if they switch out to the bench so they're not KO'd by poison. They've then only got 1 energy on there. This could really, really help. I mean, take something like a Duskmane Necrozma, for instance. Now, you're not doing much damage because they've got a resistance to Psychic, but they're going to be trying to put a whole bunch of energy on themselves. If you can get rid of 2 of them, that's really nice. Now, again, they're going to use Magnezone to reattach the energy, but they're not always going to have the energy every turn. They still want to be under less pressure to attach energy, and using this, you can put them under more pressure to attach energy. And I should mention, while we're speaking of energy here, counter energy. We've got a non-GX Pokemon, so as long as you're behind on prizes, you can now attach a counter energy here, and you can just go and do this for a single energy attachment. I'm not loving the amount of damage that this attack does. It doesn't do very much damage. But what it does do is get rid of your opponent's energy. And if you can be getting rid of energy while doing this damage, then all of a sudden you're going from a, it's alright, to a, yeah, nice. And of course, while we're talking about coin flips, I suppose I should be mentioning the Victini from Guardians Rising, whereby if you don't get the coin flips you want, you can reflip. You've got a 1 in 4 chance of hitting a double tails. Well, if you hit that double tails, you can use Victini here, and then you've only got a 1 in 8 chance of actually getting a double tails, which is very, very, very unlikely to happen. Now, the other thing, of course, is if you're desperate, you could even reflip to try and get that double heads to get rid of 2 energy. Not something I'd recommend doing all the time, but definitely something which there will be turns you just need to get rid of 2 energy. The problem is, I keep talking about extra bench Pokemon. Seviper to maximize the poison. Victini to maximize getting rid of energy. Although I should mention here, I haven't actually said it, this attack is like a double crushing hammer that can only be applied to the active. That's pretty sweet. As it is, I like this. It's a stage 1. I'm not 100% sure everyone's going to be using it, but I could certainly see it teched into something like a Garbodor deck, where you essentially are punishing them for using item cards with Trashalanche. So you can use this particular Pokemon to try and get rid of their energy, forcing them to dig through their deck to get more energy, forcing them to use more item cards, so you can then punish them with Trashalanche. There are uses for this Dragalge. I think you should keep a copy in your binder, because you may want to use it at some point in the future. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our classic description of a free Wossie card. So that's how many Wossies I'm giving it. But maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you can find a better use for it. Maybe you think it's really not very good. All comments are not only welcome, but actively encouraged down in the comment section. Go nuts. but be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio. A new bonus podcast went up today, and there should be another one in another couple of days, so go check that one out. I think they're fun. Having said that, I am biased, so you can't necessarily trust me on that one. But as always, by far the most important thing is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.